We are live with the Chasing Dirt Show, Friday edition. What is today? September the 19th. Michelle Audas, CEO of Swept. Thank you very much for taking time to jump on our live show. So,
It's great to be here, and thanks so much for having me, Jack. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
well, I appreciate you taking the opportunity. Jerry, unfortunately, couldn't make it today. He's got some family matters he needs to take care of, but you and I can go through this, and hopefully at the end of this, we'll plant a few seeds with what Swept is all about. Here's Michelle. I'd like to start off about who you are before we talk about what you do. But how did you get into the cleaning business?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jack. I came in through the technology door, if you will. I joined Swept back in 2018. And one of the reasons that I was really attracted to the company and to what they were doing was because I had a background in technology, but I've always worked with small and medium-sized business owners.
Yeah.
And so when I got connected with the founders and understood the mission, I thought there's just a great fit here for me to continue the work that I love doing with small and medium-sized business owners, but kind of bringing some of my expertise and knowledge from the technology industry to see if I could bring those two things together. And then I found this amazing industry that I knew absolutely nothing about when I when I joined
Yeah.
8 years ago, and I would say it has been an absolute privilege, sort of learning more about this industry, but I think mostly learning about the people that make this industry what it is, because it is absolutely a people industry. So
Yeah.
I found my home here.
Well, people don't realize it because I don't think, unless you're born into the business, no one really gets into the commercial cleaning business for the most part. They just stumble into it. That's is my experience, at least. You either born into it or you stumble into it. But once you get into it, I don't think people realize it's a, what is it, 93 approaching $100 billion industry just in the United States alone. So um, I don't know. Did you ever think you would be in the cleaning business? Because once you get in the cleaning business, you'll never go to a restaurant. You'll never go to a school. You'll never go the places the same and looking the same. I don't know about you, but I'm peeking in closets. I'm peeking in bathrooms. I'm doing these odd things that I shouldn't be doing, but it's our business, right?
It is. I would say I had my mind blown. Again, it's one of those things where it's until your eyes are open to it, it's easy to overlook it
Yeah.
because it's the quiet work that gets done. But what I can tell you is it's a very loud and a very proud industry, and I'm very proud to be a part of it as well. And like I say, I say that with a lot of gratitude. But when like the first time I went to the ISSA conference,
Yeah.
and it's like, there's this many people, the industry's this big, really? You read the stats online, I've done my research. It's kind of how I operate. And then I find myself, right in the middle of it. I'm like, this is mind blowing. Like I said, I still have a lot of wonder about it.
And that's the interesting. I've been going to the ISSA show, which, by the way, if you're not going, you should go. We encourage you to go. It's in November, but I've been going for maybe 20 years now, and it was big then. It's still big today, but I hear these stories of even before I got into it, how big it once was. And I would love, because if you think about it, most manufacturers there, most of the major distributors are there, but I think it'd be kind of interesting little challenge to see what is it when you basically bombard? What is that when you've got a website and someone bombards your website? I would love to see the whole industry just bombard the ISSA show to see how many people we can get there and truly see what the industry, because the people who are there is a very small percentage of the overall population. So anyone who has not been, you will have your mind blown. I encourage you to go. We encourage you to go. You will have a booth there. We'll have a booth there. It's a good chance to get a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So
Well, and a great time to build community too, which you guys have been fantastic and real leaders at as well. But that's one of the other things that really attracts me, and keeps me connected to this industry, is this real strong movement around community, that I think has just been getting a lot of momentum over the past couple of years. And when you go to ISSA and start to see, people come together who have been, part
yeah.
of the influencers in this space and whatnot, there's nothing like it.
Well, speaking of change, like
Mm.
my former owner of our company, the company I used to work for, Steve Swaggart with Spartan, he once said that he always said, and it was a very true statement, but it's changing. The rate of change is changing so quickly. But his famous quote was, the cleaning business is on the leading edge of low technology. Again, the leading edge of low technology, but that's shifting. And I guess that's why we wanted to get you on board, because we're seeing the autonomous robotics come about. We're seeing more and more SaaS software. If you're not sure what SaaS software is, that's was that software as a service, so SaaS. But Swept, get us up to speed. Tell us a little bit about you. You've been there 8 years now. Swept's been around for how long? And just give us kind of a high level overview of what you guys do over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I'd love to. Thanks. Swept has really been around really since 2015. We actually had a customer advisory call yesterday, and one of our customers, who was one of our first customers and is still, reminded everybody on the group that he's probably been with us the longest. So when Swept was founded, the problems we were trying to solve were really about pen and paper, right? Like, how do you try to grow a business when you're stuck trying to manage things on pen and paper?
Sure.
And I very much, Jack, see that that's still a challenge.
Mhm.
As much as you described, there's a lot more players in the space, and the landscape has changed a bit. But the reality is that we still see a ton of people that are trying to run these businesses on the back of a notebook.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe that AI, the robotics, there's a real place for them in this industry. There's no doubt about that, because the problems that we see are still very much human problems.
Mhm.
And I don't see a world where AI and robotics are replacing that. But I think there's a real opportunity to figure out how how the human and the technology work together for there to be more businesses that are able to be really successful in this
I, I
industry.
I agree fully. I say, Jerry and I, the reason we do this show is it's more about, making people aware of our coaching, making them aware of just things to think about in their business. Cause it's kind of like a coaching light show is what it is. And just plant some seeds as well on our side. But I say this, I don't care if you're just starting out today. It's kind of like I tell my kids all the time, man, if I had the internet back when I was your age, the amount of knowledge I would have would just be, and again, my priorities would probably be still different, but companies just starting out, or companies that are trying to break that $1 million barrier, which you see all the time, even those companies trying to break the two, the three, the $5 million barrier, I think with the right tech stack from day one, or even day, 10 years into it, if you kind of put some focus around getting that right tech stack, I think you can automatically, within a very short time, start competing with any company, regardless of the size. And again, that leverage, that scale, that software brings to the table is I don't think people, to your point, are realizing what it can do for them. And I think they look at it as it's an added cost for a tool. And I look at it as that software is the equivalent of 10 people if you use it correctly. And so, but take a dive into what you guys actually solve for and kind of the highlights of the Swept software piece.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. It's interesting because, to your point, just about every operator hits this ceiling, right?
Mhm.
And they hit it sooner than they think they're going to. And so those problems that all owners start to run into, which is around managing a team of people that are working at hours when you're trying to sleep in spaces that nobody else is in. So Swept is really, we think of ourselves as your operations partner. And in a lot of cases, we've heard great feedback from customers where they really think of us as their operations manager.
Hmm.
So from time scheduling, timekeeping, making sure you know where your staff are, to quality assurance, making sure that you can do inspections, make sure your team are doing the work that you've committed to do to the client. Because at the end of the day, the operator and the client have the relationship, and the commitment is made there. But it's that field team, it's your cleaning team that are actually responsible for delivering on your
Yeah.
commitment. So what Swept really endeavors to do is to make sure that that team that represents you in the field has everything that they need to deliver on your brand promise.
Nice.
And I think one of the things we take a lot of pride in, is the platform's really built around, by and large, the theme of communications. Jack. So while we do things like quality assurance, timekeeping, and um, scheduling, etc., communications is at the heart
Yeah.
of the platform. And what we hear is that the way that we allow teams to communicate within Swept is a game changer for our customers, right? It creates visibility for the owner where they need it. It gives a channel for cleaners to access their managers and supervisors when they need it, and it
Mhm.
creates this visibility, which helps build trust inside the cleaning company, but also build trust between the cleaning company and their client.
Nice, nice. And let me ask you in that regards though, like when you see the typical client knocking on your door, raising their hands saying, "Hey, we think we need you. We're not sure." What like give me some real world, like the people who are coming in, knocking on your door, raising their hands, saying, "Michelle, we really need to talk." What are you seeing commonalities? If there's two or three commonalities you're seeing, I've heard pen and paper
Yeah.
is a bottleneck. What other things are you seeing besides that?
Yeah, they're overwhelmed with trying to manage the schedule, trying to get people to locations where they're supposed to be, um, and ensure that they know what to do when they get there. So they've been running around trying to get to every
Mhm.
location, check that the work is getting done, and they've got too much. They can't do that if there's only 8 hours in a day and you've got, you're cleaning 10 locations. You can't be at all of those places all the
You just
time.
you just got a chuckle when you said there's 8 hours in the day because most of the owners we're dealing with are saying we tell them there's 26 hours and then they're like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? There's only 24 and whatever. But that I think that is a common thread because I think that's also the barrier. Not only are you just too damn busy, but you can't step back and lead. You can't. And I think that's why 90%. I think the number we throw out is 90% of the industry never gets past that $1 million mark
Yeah.
because they're so buried in the business, and the turnover doesn't help. That doesn't help. So pen and paper,
Yep.
running around. Is there a third thing you're seeing? Is it just
People, the retention, like hiring and being able to keep good talent
yeah
is one of the biggest problems. And I've said this before, and I hold the belief that for the most part, everybody wants to be good at what they do.
yeah
And I think there's sometimes a lack of understanding and a lack of trust that sometimes is a bit of a shadow in this industry. And what I hear is, people struggling to keep good people on their team. And part of that's because they don't have good communication systems, because they don't feel that they can trust them. Yet we hear stories back about, when cleaners are properly equipped with good onboarding, good tools that they can use, that they're knocking it out of the park.
yeah
That's where we see higher, not only cleaner retention, but higher contract retention. So, it's cleaner turnover and contract turnover, that constant cycle, which keeps you in the business development loop
yeah
while you're trying to run all of this and manage all of this, right? And it's not, this is the most common problem. Everybody I talk to hits this at some point um, in growing a
Oh,
business.
well said, well said. Let me ask you this: when you get down to the scheduling is one thing, and I'm going to ask you about AI in a second too. How are you guys thinking about using AI? Or maybe you're already planning that, and maybe if you get any wisdom, you can share on that. But one of the big things we're seeing as well is scope of work creep. People don't think
Mm,
about that. And I think with the amount of turnover, all of a sudden that scope of work you have is very defined. All of a sudden, Sally says, I'll do that because the owner asked me. Pete says, I'll do this. And because, I just don't want to hear him gripe about it anymore. And all of a sudden, this contract that's worth this, you just add it, 10, 15, 20% more time to that contract that could be charged for. But are you guys, I guess I heard you say that you kind of outline the scope of work and kind of what the responsibilities are. Does that tie into your overall packages of what you're doing and how you can maybe help not eliminate, but maybe reduce the amount of scope of work creep?
Well, there's a couple of ways that we touch on that. So certainly in terms of the scope of work or like what's expected,
Mhm.
inside the app, the cleaner knows exactly what they need to do. Right, there's a place to say this is exactly what the scope of work is. This is what needs to be done. Here's a checklist. Check it off and get it done. We create visibility into when shifts take longer than they're supposed to. So from actual clock in to clock out. So if I've budgeted and allocated 3 hours for that work to get done, and every other cleaner gets it done in 3 hours, but you know, it takes one cleaner 5 hours. All of
Sure.
a sudden, you've got visibility on a problem. Do I have a people problem? Do they not understand the scope of work? Is something else happening? So it creates that kind of visibility on what's happening on the site. And you can start to see, where you might have, issues across your team. Then there might be training issues, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're very legitimate reasons, and sometimes, unfortunately, they're illegitimate reasons as well. But that's very helpful. We talk about time theft as something that's again sort of one of the I don't know. I don't like talking about that as much because there's an inherent mistrust when we start talking about time theft, but it is the reality, and owners need to have ways to protect themselves against that when that does happen, when there's a bad actor in the mix.
Yeah, and I think there's bad actors, but I think there's also, yeah, again, a minute or two doesn't sound like much on a daily basis, but on an annual basis, it's, times 100 employees, times 50, times 25 employees. It's real time, real money. What, just out of interest, and again, just at a very high level, what are some of that from that time theft standpoint, again, purposely or non-purposely? What have you guys seen some success stories or either other things you've seen success stories while within your platform when someone comes on who's maybe skeptical that I don't think you can deliver all of that, but all of a sudden they go, "Wow, you did this, this, this." Give me some real world examples.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. Where when it comes down to the time theft side of it, I mean, it is fairly straightforward. It is when you can easily see from clock in and clock out. We also have like a geofence capability, so knowing that people are actually clocking in and clocking out at the right site. So we've had so many conversations with folks that once they've started using the platform, like, oh my god, I just discovered that we could have been getting this work done in 2 hours that really has been taking four because so they see that savings. We hear that pretty regularly, Jack. That's a very, very common. But some of the other things that we hear about are owners being able to say, I can manage my business from anywhere. And so it's freed me because you know, you can do just about everything on the mobile app. As an owner, being tethered to your business and not being able to, we all need to recharge. We all need to, it takes a lot of work to run a business. And we've heard some great stories about people who have said, for the first time ever, I felt like I could actually, get away with my family, take time with my family. I can go to the soccer game. I can take a vacation because I know what's going on and I have visibility to what's happening.
No, I think once you lay those train tracks, that's the way I describe it. Once you lay those train tracks, most companies don't have those train tracks. If you think about a train, it's on a train track, so you can only go forward or backwards. Now it's going to tilt left or right, but it's not going to just go off in different directions. But I think that's one of the things we talk about is too, Jerry and I, is just that accountability. It allows you to pass that accountability down because there's a process there now to manage.
Yeah.
You can be on the outside looking in while you have your team managing that. So I love that. Tell me a little bit as we, and this has been great. So I appreciate that. How do we find you again? I'll pull up the website, but how do we, what, if someone's interested in this?
Swapworks.com. You find us there and you got it.
There it is, swebworks.com. You can get a demo, schedule a demo, all of that good stuff, a little more about you there. So that's good to hear. Tell me what's on the horizon for you guys. If you can, I know it's not promises, but are you guys moving into AI? Are you starting to look at that and trying to figure out
Oh
how
yeah,
to,
we've been look, you can't be in business today and not be
yeah,
thinking about AI. Um, so I'd say there's a couple of different ways we've been thinking about AI, Jack. One is certainly internally as a team, right? So there's, for us, how do we improve what we do and leverage AI so that we build faster? Can we build better? How do we be more productive internally? But then we're also looking at what are the biggest pain points that we're well positioned to solve for. So we talk, and again, no promises. We're just really exploring right now, but things like smart scheduling.
Yeah.
When you've got all of the data on, shifts that have been completed, who completes them on time, people's availability, is there a way to be able to say, hey, if you put the schedule in here, we can automatically populate that for you? All sorts of different things around how do we leverage the data that we have to help people do some of the manual task work a lot more efficiently and take some of the lift out of that.
No,
So there's lots of our head of technology is doing a lot of work and testing with different platforms right now on what we hope will be able to bring some interesting things to market in 2026.
well, I think if you could solve also the call outs, that's the whole, you get the perfect schedule lined up and get the call outs at 10%, 5%, whatever it may be. And that adjustment's just a little bit of chaos too. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm interested in what AI is going to bring to the markets overall. I'm seeing glimpses of it. Most of it's novel right now, but there's some cool things kind of coming through, and it's exciting. It's scary. Change is quick. It's like you can get behind very quickly. But again, I'll go back to the core thing: is that if technology is not on your to-do list, and you guys deal with companies from less than $1 million, well over $1 million, well over 5. You've got a whole diverse range. So this is not limited to smaller companies, mid-sized companies. This is a full platform for all size companies, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, really, our sweet spot, Jack, I would say, is sort of the 500,000 to 5 million.
Hmm.
I feel like that is where we really are built purposefully for that group. That said, we have clients that sit outside of that and have done very, very well with us. Um, I think there's unique challenges when you're just starting and when you're sort of starting to get over into five, six, $7 million. So we really focus on trying to be that operational partner, which is, I think, the reason we have such a broad customer base is because that need is ubiquitous across all cleaning companies, is to have that sort of operational controls in place.
I love it.
So
I love it. I love it. Well, sweatworks.com. You got Michelle and her team, so you can book a demo for that. Again, this has been great. What we're trying to do, Michelle, on the show is bring different solutions, different ideas, different concepts, different personalities. You've been a great player in the market in your time here. I think you've always been very pleasant every time I've met you, and I wish you the best success. But I will do this. I'll let you wrap up any final thoughts you have, any suggestions for listeners if they want to kind of take the next steps. I'll just leave it with you.
yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. One of the biggest lessons we learned, Jack, was during COVID.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned was that teams that had communications nailed were the winners, and the
Hmm.
ones that didn't were the losers. And it was that simple because we saw this tremendous growth and we saw tremendous failures during COVID. And what we really learned about that is that if you've invested in technology, then put it to work for you.
Yeah.
Don't use half of it. Don't use a piece of it. If you've made the investment, take the time, put it to work for you. That will save you. It's not a cost. It is absolutely an investment. If it's not working for you, then it's not the right technology. And I think that's what I would really recommend to anybody, whether you're using ours or anybody else's software. Know what you hired it to do. Think of it that way. What am I hiring it for? And make sure it's doing it for you.
No, I
Get
love that.
that value back.
I love that. No, I think it's like a sports car. You're not going to buy a sports car and keep it in first gear the whole time. You're going to put that thing into fourth, and if he's got a fifth, even better, right? So I think that's good advice.
Yeah, yeah, and reach out to us if we can help in any way. There's lots of rich resources on our website as well. So if you're at that early stage and you're not ready for software, take advantage of some of the toolkits and resources that we have there and use those to help yourself get to that next stage and then reach out when you're ready.
Awesome, awesome. Michelle Audas, CEO, Swept. Thank you very much for the time today. It's been a pleasure. I told you live was good. 25 minutes on the mark, and
We did it.
you did wonderful. So thank you, and I guess everyone will catch you on the next show. We'll be back on Monday at 4 p.m. East Coast time. We look forward to it. Michelle, have a great weekend and appreciate your time today.
You too. Thanks so much, Jack. Take care.